I see a lot of people in the comments saying some version of, I'll be working forever, so what's the point of planning for retirement? So I'm wondering, is it still worth doing anything to save for retirement now? Or should we all just quietly and collectively agree to raw dog the rest of our lives? And I get it. I've been there. I am there. And one thought that keeps hitting me is the only reason why I didn't fully check out. Now, I might have to work forever, but maybe if I keep saving even a little bit, I can work for 10 hours a week when I'm in my 70s instead of 40 or more. I was embarrassed about how little I had saved for retirement, but I met with a financial advisor and we had a plan to get me caught up. And then I was laid off 2 weeks later. That was 2 years ago. And while the amounts are small, we are still doing our best to put money into our savings. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. This video is not about retiring early, beating the system, or turning $5 into a yacht. It's about something much smaller and much more realistic. It's about whether doing a little something now can make later feel a little bit less punishing. So I asked my financial advisor if he would come answer some questions and say some things out loud that people are too embarrassed to ask. He can't give investment strategies or answers that magically fix everything, but I think that we all need a calm, professional voice who can say, yes, the embarrassment is real. Yes, starting small still matters. And no, you're not the only one who feels like you're behind. But this is still my conversation with you. I'm going to share what shifted for me, why my version of success got a lot smaller and a lot saner, and why I stopped thinking that retirement was never working again and started thinking of it as working less later. If you've already decided that the future is locked in, this is for you. I'm not here to hype you up. I'm just here to remind you that later still exists. While you're here, if any of this feels familiar or if you have a story that you'd like to share, please let me know. I would love to hear from you in the comments. This is Daniel Rice, a financial advisor for Edward Jones. He's not like my friend or anything, and he's not even getting paid to do this. He's just a really great human, and I reached out to him to do this video, and he was all about it. So Daniel, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I really do think that this conversation is going to matter to a lot of people.
Yeah. No, thank you for asking me. Like I told you, it means a lot that you thought of me to ask me. Super excited to do it. And I think you're right. I think this is going to matter to a lot of people. Because it's a topic, like you said. I think a lot of people are in your same situation, and a lot of people
Yeah.
do feel some sort of shame or embarrassment about where they are financially, and just no one should ever feel that way. Our efforts always matter. So happy to have this conversation.
Good, good, because that's what I was hoping to hear. So you kind of alluded to this a little bit already, but how common is it for people to come to you feeling embarrassed or behind, and feeling that shame, like you just said? Is that pretty common?
Yes. It's really tough. I think, it's hard to say exactly, but if I had to put a number to it, it's gotta be somewhere like 95% of people feel that way.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I think what's interesting about it is it kind of is everybody, despite the fact that some of those people who feel behind, they're actually in a completely fine place. And all people who feel really behind, they're not as behind as they thought. And that's, one of the things I love about the conversations I have with people is just that getting clarity on where you are and where you can be just puts things in a lot better perspective, and usually makes kind of just the scary idea of, retirement, I have to save X amount of dollars in order to live, makes it a lot more, just possible and real. And you realize it is something that you can get to.
Yeah, so what do you think holds people back emotionally from starting conversations with a financial advisor? Not financially, but just emotionally. Like, I know we just talked about the shame a little bit, but what
Yeah.
else do you think keeps people from you?
Well, and first of all, I mean, so starting the conversation with a financial advisor, I think that's great, and that's something that I love to do. Some people might not want to do that. And also, I think that's an important thing that I want to talk about, which is just there's 100 different ways to accomplish, what you want financially. One of those is working with an advisor. One is doing it on your own or with a great advisor. There are a lot of different avenues. And so I think one of the things emotionally that can hold someone back is just sort of the complexity of it, or they just like they're not going to understand. Again, some of the embarrassment. I'm not where I should be. But there's there's also just not like a one path, like you have to come to me or another financial advisor in order to get on track. Wherever you are, just taking the first step is the most important thing. So just deciding, I want to save, like, I mean, literally anything. I want to save $10 more a week just to start the habit. Because once you start those habits, I feel like they can really snowball into something better and better. So just setting something intentional. I'm going to take this step and start with that. And then I'll reevaluate in a week, in a month, and try to increase it. Maybe 6 months from now, I will be more comfortable to sit down and talk to someone. And you can take that step then. Uh, I think the biggest thing holding people back is just that first step. Just I guess some of that fear that people feel about just taking the first step into something that they're not as comfortable with. And so whatever that first step
Yeah.
looks like for you, I think is really important.
I remember for me, I just felt so behind and I have absolutely no knowledge of what you do. And that's why I wanted to hire you. I figure that we all have our areas of expertise and managing money is not one of them for me. So that's why we came to you. But it took us a long time to make the decision to come to a financial advisor because I was so worried that it was going to be complicated. And I was so worried that it was going to be, oh, well, if you don't have thousands of dollars to give to me right now, I don't even want your time. I was afraid of that. I was afraid that you would judge me, and tell me that you didn't have like I can't remember that model, but she's like, yeah, I don't even get out of bed for less than $100,000, right? So it's like I was worried that that's kind of how it would be with you, that you'd be like, yeah, I don't deal, I don't want your piddly little monies.
Yeah, no, I think, I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, especially before the conversation. And so it was something you said just about like how sort of complicated it is. People have their area of expertise, right? This is mine. You have things that so much about and wouldn't even be like being to scratch the surface. Yeah, my least favorite person is the person that when I talk to them, they make me feel dumb or sort of talk down to me.
Right.
And you know, there's so many things I don't know about. This is one thing I do know. And when someone comes to me, I have people who are, very well off in their careers, very smart and intelligent, and they come to me knowing nothing about an IRA or how much they can put away or if they should, what accounts they should use. And I don't care. There's so much I
And
don't
would you say
know.
that's pretty average with financial advisors? Would you say that many financial
Oh yeah.
advisors don't care?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we love to be the person that can help. We love to have the knowledge to share with people. Um, I I've yet to meet someone who has ever said anything negative about their clients not knowing something. I'm sure there's someone out there. If you meet that guy, just find someone else.
Go away.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think pretty much everyone is just happy to talk to whoever they can and help them.
That's great. Because I know that there was just, like I said, there was so much fear about finding you, and we felt really lucky to find you. Um, One of the things that Doug and I do, Doug's my husband, one of the things that we do is we take money and we put it into a savings account that gets us a little bit of, it's like a 3.3% interest back,
Yeah.
because we don't want to just give you $10 here and there. We want to, but what we do give you is still modest. And I want to really clarify that that's okay, that we can give you modest amounts. We can give you $100 here, $200 there, and that's okay for investing.
Yeah, absolutely. Every single thing counts. Every dollar, every penny. And that's one of the things. So I kind of told you there. I can't make specific recommendations, but there are some things
Right.
I did want to share that I think are applicable to people. The way you hit on just that emergency savings or just savings account we're building up, that is like the number one thing where I think everyone should start. Is just building up some sort of savings. Kind of say it's 3 to 6 months. Doing that is a huge first step because it's going to protect you from emergency. Life happens, and it always
Yeah.
happens, and it always happens at the wrong time in the wrong ways. And that emergency fund is going to be your first buffer towards some of the unexpected things in life. And so, yeah, $10, $20, $100, whatever it is, whenever you can put that away, that's super important.
Because future me will be happy that I put away
Yeah.
that $100. And you mentioned something when we had talked before, when we were kind of uh, just chatting about doing this. You also mentioned Social Security, and I want to bring that up only because I keep forgetting about it. I like don't count on it being there, but it very well could be there for my generation, for us.
I think it will. There is a lot of sort of unease around Social Security and the idea that it's going to go away. I think it would be extremely unlikely that it just disappeared. It would still be unfortunate, but it's possible that benefits could get reduced, for future payouts. I think some amount of that will always be there. And one of the things that you talked about was, what is retirement? What does it really look like? Maybe it's not sitting on the beach sipping pina coladas or whatever, but just working less, doing more fulfilling work. Um, and that's something that I think, Social Security can be a piece of that for you. It's if you've got, so for people who don't know how it works, if you've got 10 years in working history, you qualify for Social Security once you retire. The longer you work, the higher salary, the more it be, but that qualifies you for a benefit. And so if you can start taking it at 62, somewhere between 62 and 70, you want to take that to cover your, necessary expenses, then you can just say, well, you know what? A big portion of my expenses are covered. What can I do for 10, 20 hours a week? That would just be fun, right? Because I think so many of us, and even if you look at people who have so much money, money doesn't matter to them anymore. I'm thinking like the Shark Tank crew, Mark Cuban, Barbara, Lori, Delina, or whatever. They never need to work another day in their lives, and they work every single day because they just enjoy it. It's something
You get
they're whatever they're
purpose.
doing. Yeah, they like that. And that's great. And so I think we can all have that in our own way. What is it that I could do for 10, 20 hours a week as a part-time job later in our life that's going to be fun and fulfilling, and that it's just going to, it's not going to feel like the weight of the world still on my shoulders.
I'm so glad that you said that, because that's what I keep telling myself when I only have $10 to put in our savings account. That 70-year-old me is going to really appreciate that $10, because I'm 55 now, so I still have time to grow money.
Yeah.
Um, and one thing I wanted to ask you too, have you seen it become a little bit more common? We keep saying, oh, yeah, you can retire when you're 65 or whatever the age is currently, at 67, 62, whatever. But so many people in their 50s are getting pushed out of their careers. Are you seeing an uptick in that, kind of like people like me coming to you saying, "Uh-oh, I just got laid off and I don't know when I'm going to find another job." Um, are you seeing that in your profession? I'm just curious.
Sorry. Just seeing people sort of middle-aged in that unexpected scenario, or sorry,
Ouch,
say that
that
again.
hurt. Middle-aged, yeah. But seeing people in that scenario where they're getting laid off in their 50s and they still have 15 years before they can retire. And it's really stressful because, like you and I had met to talk about, building out my retirement fund and getting caught up essentially. And then I was laid off. So I have 15 years where I'm not doing a 401k, where, my contributions are going to be smaller. Um, so I just am curious if you're seeing people my age getting laid off at this age and not necessarily making it to retirement age, and they have to come up with alternate things to do.
So yeah, I guess my sort of, yeah, I've got a couple hundred clients, so my section of people that I work with can be sort of skewed, and where it's not, it doesn't reflect the
Sure,
whole
sure,
population.
sure.
Yeah, a big part of the reason why I am a financial advisor today. So my dad, in 2000, after the 2008 market crash, 2009, he cashed out his entire retirement savings, everything, every
Oh,
penny. And he's, oh, late did, man. I mean, late 40s, 50. Um, and so you imagine the setback that is. He literally started from scratch. And my entire life, I've like never seen him spend money on anything. Like he's always been a saver, a penny pincher. Both my parents are teachers. It's not like they're, CEOs or
right,
whatever. They're
right,
just,
right.
they've always been diligent savers. And so, the setback that must have been for him, and where he's at now, he's semi-retired. He's in the exact situation I've talked about. They have a social security. He teaches part-time. He enjoys it. He still has a paycheck coming into there. He could probably stop, but he hasn't because he doesn't want to. And he gets to spend time with his family. He gets to do the things that matter to him. So when if you're in that place where it feels like life just took a 180 on you, there is still so much that you can do to have a future that is something you're going to enjoy. And there's the really shouldn't feel like things are just helpless, because the second you give up, it's over. But if you just keep trying, there's always a chance that things are going to work out for you.
As I've gotten older, my version of retirement has definitely changed. When I was younger, I always thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait to retire and I'm just going to do nothing all day. And then now, as I've gotten older, I'm like, gosh, if I do nothing all day, that would absolutely drive me batty. And so I'm actually looking forward to doing what you say, and maybe having a part-time job that is quote unquote fun, right? Something that maybe gives back or makes a difference or is enjoyable, some kind of way. So it's very interesting how my version of retirement has morphed as I've gotten older. And Doug, my husband's the same way. He was like, "Oh, let's retire and I just want to play golf all the time." We're not those people anymore. That's not what we want to do. And it sounds like that's fairly common, that people actually still want to keep contributing as they get older. Well, and I think that you've already answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When they finally do get to you, do they people that need help, like I got to be a little bit more specific, but when people finally do make it to you, do they underestimate how normal their situation actually is, compared to, do people tend to compare themselves to the rest of the world, and they come in and think everybody my age has it together so much more than I do. I'm just so behind, and I'm so awful, and I'm so terrible, right? Do they have those feelings when they come see you?
I think almost everyone feels that way. And I think it's that we just live in such a weird time, right? Like who you're comparing yourself to is probably um, the many faces you're seeing on social media who are probably flaunting the highlights of their life. You're probably not having these conversations with your friends who are actually in the same exact scenario as you, because they
Right.
probably feel just as and sort of embarrassed or shameful about it, and it's hard to be transparent about that. So it's like, yeah, we're comparing ourselves just to the wrong people, and uh, even those people on social media are probably in the same boat, right? But they're
We
just
shouldn't
it's
compare
like,
anyway.
yeah,
We
and
shouldn't.
they're just showing you the highlights. And yeah, comparison is a thief of joy, right? There's
Leave of
always
joy,
someone,
yes.
yeah, there's always someone who seems like they're doing more, doing better. But if you say to look at what we have, what is really going to make me happy by doing what I need to be on track for that.
So if I came to you today and I said, Daniel, I'm 55 and I just think that it's already too late to make a difference in my future, what would you say?
No, it's not too late. Um, no, and I guess, and yeah, just sort of the things I already hit on. It's just, it's like the feelings, the fear, the shame, the embarrassment. One, don't you ever feel embarrassed or shameful about trying. Anyone
About
who
trying, yes.
anyone who would make you feel embarrassed or silly or dumb because you want to show up and try, that's a bad person. That's not someone you need to spend time with. Um, and at 55, 10 years till 65, 15 years till 75 or 70. There, that's still a long time. There's a lot that you can do in that span that's going to make a big difference. And then, like I said, you have the pieces of Social Security, which is going to be your best. There's some unease about that, but it will be your best inflation protected lifetime income for you and your spouse if you're married. So there are all these pieces that are still going to work together to make a difference.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say today to people that are watching this?
Um, I think just I already mentioned it, but I think the biggest thing is just starting, is just taking the first step. It habits snowball. So if you're not happy with where you currently are, that's okay. Um, do something, make a plan, write it down, something actual, trackable. I'm gonna do this every week, every month. I'm gonna start there, and I'm gonna revisit this goal and try to improve it. I think that's the best place to start. And don't, maybe, and I know in real life, near I have many goals. I had already started and failed on 100 times over, and
Yes.
I start them again, and that's fine. One of these times, I'm gonna get it right. And every time I kind of start and fail, fail. I'm further along that path than I was before, even though I might not have achieved the final goal. So start the first time, start again, just do it.
I think that that's great advice to end on. So thank you so, so much for your time. I really appreciate that you did this for us today. Um, I really don't know how to thank you.
No, really, thank you. I appreciate you trusting me to let me come on here and have this conversation. I think I actually did go back through and watch some of your videos. I think what you're doing is really cool. Because we
Thank you.
are in just a social media world. I think there are so many unreal voices out there, sort of just talking about the glitz and glam. I think just the raw, honest voices of quote unquote normal people. um, that's that's
Normal
just what we do.
middle-aged people, don't forget middle-aged.
Oh man, sorry about
No, it's fine. It's fine. It just
that.
it's very rare that like I hear someone call me that, right? I call myself that, but when someone else says it, it's like, oh, because I still feel like I'm 20.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
Nothing Daniel just said was dramatic or flashy or even a secret. And that's actually the point. This isn't about being good with money. It's about not opting out entirely because you somehow missed some arbitrary window. That's what I did. I didn't stop thinking about money because I didn't care. I stopped because I was embarrassed, tired, and very attached to the idea that the math had already judged me and I could stop trying. When I say starting small still matters, I'm not saying it fixes anything. I'm saying it changes how you see yourself. It keeps you in the conversation instead of deciding prematurely that the rest of your life is already spoken for. Last year, my husband and I were able to put around $8,000 into our accounts with Daniel. Was it hard? Absolutely. But I really do believe that future us will be thankful. That $8,000 has 10, 15 years, time to grow. It's worth the sacrifice. That may seem like a lot of money to you, and that's cool. It's different for everyone. This year, I don't think that we're going to hit nearly that much, but who knows? One thing that was helpful for us was to open an account that pays interest on our money because we like to hold on to our money before we invested it just in case, some emergency happened or whatnot. So we used Ally Bank, which is an online bank, and it has a 3.3% annual percentage yield. They are not sponsoring this. I'm not paid by them. That's just what we used. So while our money sat there, it was getting more money, and we felt safe holding on to it just for a little while before we invested. So if you're watching this thinking, great, but I'm still behind, yeah, you probably are. A lot of people are. That doesn't mean later is canceled. It just means that later is going to look different than the brochure. And different is still better than giving up. A lot of people always ask me where my money went before all of this. It's not light. It's about mental health, survival mode, and how money decisions get shaped long before anyone calls them choices. Watch it here if you'd like some insight and to keep the conversation going.